Hi, my name's Callum and I've never had a full-time job, but I make a full-time income as a self-employed guitar player. I'm going to tell you how that came about. So it all started 9 years old, picked up the guitar, out of pure chance. It was actually meant to be my sister starting. She got guitar lessons and a guitar for her birthday, but was just too shy to do the lessons, so I said, I'll do them and then I'll teach you. And so I started having lessons at this place in East Molesey called Musicland East, and I absolutely loved it. 3 weeks in, I did my first performance at school, and I was just hooked ever since. And I always wanted to be a rock star from that point. I knew since then that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life, and so I practiced so much in those early years, especially. And at 15, I managed to go get my grade 8 for electric guitar, and this allowed me to then teach at the place I was having my lessons. So this was really good as it got me some experience and earning money. And at that time it was £20 an hour for a 16-year-old. That was pretty good. So there was also some tutors there that asked if I wanted to step in their function band. And this was great because it means I could get some experience playing in the band, which I've not really done at that point, and also earn some money from gigs. So this was really exciting experience for me. So we were doing some paid gigs and teaching, and up until it was coming towards 18, and I needed to think about where I wanted to go to university because I knew I wanted to go. And I was thinking I want to go to a music university. So I was looking at ACM, BIM, all of those. LCCM was another one. I went to BIM Brighton to have a look and I was absolutely sold. I was like, this is the place I want to go, and I was just so excited about it. So eventually I had to stop the teaching at the place I was working at and then move down to Brighton. So this was a new experience. And so during this time at university, I was practicing lots and lots. And then there was a point when everything stood still. And during this time, I was posting lots on Instagram and everything. And one of my tutors actually recommended me to a function band agency that were looking for a new guitar player for their band, as well as other musicians. They were just making a new band. And this was great, as then this was going to set me up for some new paid gigs, which I didn't have anymore. So this was awesome. I was also at this time doing some online teaching, trying to build that up, as I knew there was some limitations at the time where we couldn't really leave. And so this was a great way to try and keep that going. And I had that experience, so I thought, why put that to waste and work another job? So I was doing some paid gigs and private teaching on Zoom, and I had to think of what I wanted to do after university because I was in my third year. And so this was quite an important decision I needed to make, whether I wanted to stay in Brighton, and if so, maybe I'd need to get a part-time job to support living, or move back home and just try and go for it and just use that as a way to just give me a safety net to build things up. I was applying to loads of jobs at the time and I really didn't want to do any of them, to be honest. And I was quite scared on moving back home because I thought, if I move home, will I lose all the opportunities and the network I made in Brighton? Eventually it came to a point though where I was like, right, I'm going to go home. And suddenly when I made that firm decision, everything just felt correct. And so I moved back home and we're like, we're going to start and just really go for it. So I built a website, was growing my Instagram profile, was posting on Facebook, any sort of sites, Fiverr, absolutely everything that I could do just to get my name out there. With this, I was in Facebook groups, looking at any DEP opportunities, making friends with people that had graduated or a bit further in their careers, anything to just get my name out there. And the gigs that I currently had, they were starting to snowball and get a few more in, and I was slowly building it up. But at that time, I was really stressed out because I came out of uni with such an overdraft. And so I was at home, not much work opportunities coming through, and you're seeing like your friends get their full-time jobs on their new salaries and you're there literally making like £0 and you're like, this is not great. So it was quite a hard period, but I thought, I'm going to keep doing it. I know it's going to work out. I just had this faith and I knew everything would be all right. So I was seeing what opportunities I could find whilst building up my own self-employed business. And I was looking on Indeed because I was getting a lot of doubts at this point. And there was even some companies that were like teaching, but as a full-time position. And I remember there was one and they actually wanted me to apply for it. And it was like 20k. And I was like, something just didn't sit right. And I was like, I don't want to limit myself to that and have that as the easy option, because I think I could do better than that. And I remember saying no to that and declining it. And I felt that was the right thing to do. I'm so glad I did that. because I took the hard route, kept on going. I managed to get in with a teaching agency that does a lot of like in schools, and I could work as a contractor, self-employed. And this is where it kind of started to get the ball rolling. And so when January 2022 hit, this is when it started to really snowball and the work was starting to really come through. And so instead of it being like looking at my bank account and thinking, right, this is just not a nice feeling, I was looking at it and I was like, this is actually going somewhere. I think if we keep at this, we can grow this to a very good income. And so we kept on doing that. Gigs were rolling in, playing for some artists, doing a bit of recording there, just being really persistent on everything and not stopping trying to work and put myself out there. I was also doing house band for my university, so I was driving down to Brighton, as well as group guitar classes, and this was great for some of my weekends. After doing lots of depping in 2022, this built up enough confidence because I still felt quite nervous doing some gigs, and so I needed to build that confidence up, and I knew the more I'll do it, I'll feel more confident and I'll be better at playing in a gig setting. It was also exciting that year because I managed to get my first abroad gig playing on TV, which was in Finland, and this was really cool for one of the artists I was with at university. So this was an experience that reminded me that I was probably on the right path and to keep going on what I was doing. As the year went on, I was getting more gig bookings, more students coming in, and it was getting to a point where I was very glad on the decision I made taking the hard route and not getting that job opportunity that came through or a part-time job. 2023 came in and the levels started stepping up, so I was getting better gigs. I was doing some theatres, which was really cool, playing for some new artists, some nice hotels. I was getting some more gigs abroad, so one in Luxembourg for another artist. A lot of these were making me really excited and felt that I was progressing in what I was doing in my career. I also felt at this point I could charge a bit more for my private lessons because I had the experience and I had been doing it since I was 16, so I actually had all those years behind me. I also managed to get in with another function band agency, which was great as it gave me a bit more variety. So if one went a bit quiet, I'd have a bit more coming from another one, hopefully. And I kept on doing this, always looking on Facebook and getting into a few tribute shows. So I played in a Lady Gaga tribute show that year, which was also really fun. As it got to 2024, then it was even more busy again. And it was just looking back every single year, kind of reflecting on how I did that year, the amount of gigs I'd done, amount of students, how much I made. And I was seeing that each year, it was just always going up and up. And this reminded me that I was doing something right. Now, at the start of 2024, I felt a little bit lost. And I thought, is this going to be the same as last year? I don't have anything cool coming up or anything that's getting me really excited about playing. And so I thought, you know what, we're just going to do it. I'm playing guitar. It doesn't matter. I could be doing a job that I don't like. As the year went on, I was just doing my lessons and my function gigs, and it was doing good. It was doing good. Like, I was happy, but I wanted something that was gonna make me feel excited about playing the guitar, and so like an experience that gives me that adrenaline. And I remember it was getting to July sort of time, or whenever the Euros was, I think. And I remember it was one evening, and I got a message, and it was a guitar player, and it was from a recommendation from a gig I did last year at like a pub, and they were like friends, and they were like, oh, are you free for this gig in Kew Gardens? I was like, yeah, I could do that. And then I found out a bit more, and then it was, oh, it's for Lucy Spraggan, and I was like, wow, like this is really exciting experience. So this was in 3 days time, and so I was like, right, I'm gonna go and just learn a set online until I've been fully confirmed, because if I get confirmed really last minute, I would like to feel as confident as possible knowing I'd prepped stuff. So I went online, learnt a whole set, and I actually got confirmed the day before the gig. And so that's when I got sent the music, and I was so glad I did that because it meant I only had 2 or 3 songs to learn the night before. So I did that, and this was an experience that was just so good. It reminded me so much of why I wanted to play the guitar and why I love doing it, and why you go through and do some of those things you necessarily didn't want to do when you're like grinding it at the start. Like those are kind of the things that make you feel really rewarded at what you're doing. And I remember afterwards then going to watch the Euros, and I was like, this is, this has been such a good day. And so from there, it just kept on going, and then the gigs, they just keep on piling up. And as it is this year, we've got lots of function gigs in, had some artist gigs in, got some gigs away again in Cyprus. I'm sure there'll be some other stuff that come in, and some other artist gigs and teaching, and now trying to grow it to the next thing, because there's only so much time now you can trade. And so what's the next thing I could do? And I need to try and leverage using the internet. So this is just a whole backstory of how my career's kind of progressed from nothing to all that. I know everyone's situation is going to be different, but it's possible to make this full-time income as a guitar player. Again, I've never had a full-time job, or a real proper part-time job, to be honest. I've just been really persistent trying to make it work like this. So I think when you really limit yourself and think this is the only way I'm going to do it, then I think you do just get this motivation to make it work. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope there was something that you could probably take from it. And I think I'm just going to do a lot of these sort of videos where I talk about some of my experiences, and maybe someone coming up that wants to pursue this career might be able to find something useful, and I might be able to provide something of value to them. So hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video.